What's up, guys? I just got a warning that the stream will not be recorded unless I clear space. What the hell? Who knows how to use StreamYard? There's a space limitation? Maybe I got to upgrade my plan. I don't know. I also got to figure out, I got to get the overhead cam set up. Per usual, not ready to go. Hang on. Get this popping here. All right, menu. Son of a bitch. Hang on here. How are we doing on audio? Good? All right, remove that. Mass storage. Oh, come on now. Unplug the USB cable. Hold up, guys. Bear with me here. All right. So that's not the USB, huh? All right, menu. We'll be good to go in like 2 minutes. There we go. All right. Good audio. Yeah, so I guess I'm out of memory on StreamYard, so I don't know if this is going to pop back in. And I lost stability on my... So we might have someone pop on here in a little bit. He had something else going on. He couldn't commit 100%, but we'll see how that goes. In the meantime, I'm going to get the overhead cam going, and then we'll take a look at a few things. All right, so what we want to do here is call the overhead cam Arthouse. Audio is whatever. Camera is not that, is that. All right, here we go. All right, so we're going to do that. Mute that. Pop that baby in. All right, we'll go. Oh, that's a Mecca. Yeah, so the T-shirts. Need T-shirts. I was fortunate Simon sent me this T-shirt. I think I'm guessing maybe it'll be a dust reward, or maybe this game. There we go. Maybe it'll be a gameplay type incentive. I'm not sure. There's a few shirts. So Simon had one. This is a shirt he's talking about. Sorcery, right? So Simon had one at the, I think when he went to, what's going on with the lighting? We got some ambient light today. He went to the Gamma conference, as Joey talked about. And I think Simon talked about it when I opened up a box, the showcase box on channel. And, but he hasn't said like exactly what he's going to do with that. So we'll see. I'm sure they'll be available for purchase some way. Oh, that's a shirt Judges wore at Gen Con? Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. So they had some branding and marketing there. Yeah, it's unfortunate this isn't going to record because we might have a good conversation. I don't know what it's talking about with it being out of memory. That's unfortunate. All right. Let's take a look at some cards here and talk about whatever. If there's something you guys want to talk about right now? The baby passed out, so I figured we'd just jump into it, do whatever. I kind of wanted to do some sleeving of some of my Spellcraft cards, so we can talk about that a little bit. I think I showed this to you guys before in the binder. So I guess I sleeved these in these Dragon Field sleeves. They're pretty nice. But I showed the back for some photo op opportunities. So this is actually, let me zoom in here. Hang on. Let me mess with the lighting so we don't get as much glare. If I do this, maybe I don't even need this light. Hang on a second. Let's try that. There we kind of dark. What do you think, John? What's the play here? Is it just too bright? It washes me out like crazy. But we need to see the cards, right? It washes it out a little bit. So this is the Sorcery binder. The Sorcery Alpha binder. if you guys didn't order one, it's a really nice, big, thick binder. You know, it zips all the way around, and it's got the little Alpha logo. See if I can get that under the camera. The Alpha logo and the little tag, kinda hard to see. Will that focus? Nah, it doesn't wanna focus. But there it is. Let me tilt this thing. There we go. Alright, that's a little less intense. Alright. So these Spellcraft cards, we could take a look at these. These are side loaders from the Alpha binder, and we got a bunch of these Spellcraft cards. So let me get them out of here, and then we'll take a look at some of the early development history. One of the speculative things that people are thinking is that since they had the Gridlord backs as a curio, it would be really cool if we ended up seeing one of these Spellcraft backs as a curio. And now let me see. Do I have any regular cards around? Let's see here. Hang on a second. All right. All right. First interesting thing right off the back. If you look at the regular Alpha cards, right? So you got Sorcery Contested Realms. Obviously, the name of the game. That's what ends up on the Alice pack and Alpha. And then if you notice here, smack screen. Let me try to get this. Actually, you know what? Hang on a second. There we go. All right, almost. All right, that's what we want. Much better. All right, so look at this is the Alpha pack, right? It has the map of the realm. It's kinda arbitrary, right? I asked Francesca Brauld about this. She said, to her knowledge, it didn't have any specific meaning when commissioned. I think she just did, like, you know, she does a lot of maps. That's kind of her, strength and forte. She does a lot of maps for a lot of different games, outside of TCGs, board games, video games. I think she did maps for Diablo, which is really awesome. The new Diablo that came out, was it Diablo 4 now? So that's pretty sweet, but you notice there's no name for the regions on the map. And then in the early days, in the sample cards, I believe, still had the names, and then also in these old school Spellcraft cards, that was a name for the game that was once considered Spellcraft. You see, you still have the regions on the map here. So you have Midland, Fireland, Unland, and sorry, excuse me. This one is Unland over here, Fireland, Midland, and again, Fireland, Highland and Fireland. All right. And when I had Elvira Shakarova on the channel, she had told me like some of her cards had the name like Firelands. I want to say that Lindsay's Palaberry bats might have been called Fireland bats once upon a time when commissioned. I'm not sure if I have that right or not, but some of Elvira's pieces had the word Firelands in there, so that's kind of cool that tied to the region. And then there's other cards in the game like Midland, right? We had the Midland Mercenaries by Jeff Menges that later got changed to the Eremos Mercenaries. But if you compare to the Spellcraft apps, there you have it side by side. You see some of the differences there. Let me move my mouse. You have the differences. I'm showing Spellcraft to Spellcraft. Spellcraft to Alpha. Okay. Let me hold this properly. All right, there we go. One sleeve, one top sleeve. So we got an Alpha card here on the right, Spellcraft here on the left, and you see you have the regions. The region names were removed for Final Alpha, and of course, the game is now called Sorcery Contested Realm. It also says an Eric's Curiosa game across the top banner, and we've come to find that that is also now a curio. There's some that the three trolls can now say an Eric's Curio game. So that's three of the curios that have been discovered to date. And it's just cool how the name changed like that. And also, it's kind of interesting too, like how you have this kind of banner here. So I'll have to go double check again. Like it kind of goes around the periphery of the realm here, all the way around. And I'll have to go look again. I have a image at collectorarthouse.com of the original artwork by Francesca Berald, I believe, of just the spellback. Is that in the image archive? I can get that one way or the other. I can ask Francesca if I don't have it somewhere, but it's kinda cool that that banner was, preserved there, and then I guess probably digitally, Eric must have, removed that and changed that to Contested Realm here, right? And the color tones are a little different as well in the final printing versus this is kind of like a home print. So that's kinda cool. Oh, my audio is garbled? Alright, hang on. Let me, thanks for letting me know. Let me mess around with that real quick. Uh, settings, audio. All right, I'm gonna change a couple settings on the audio. So we got the microphone, speaker. I don't think matters. Let me know if this improves, guys. I'm gonna try to troubleshoot this a little bit. Settings. That should be okay. Microphone probably doesn't matter. Okay. I probably don't need those. Oh, did I lose? How's that? Better? Where are these Spellcraft cards from? The sample boosters? No, these Spellcraft cards were never part of public distribution in any way at all. They were, I acquired them from somebody who helped with the early development of the game. Let me go back here. My audio is good, right? So he was, there was someone who was involved in worked for the company, kind of like a freelance, like subcontract type agreement, for what I understand. Early on in the company, through my various platforms and stuff, I've met a lot of different people that know Eric or have worked for the company along the way in various aspects. And this person had these Spellcraft cards, and they were just local home printed, I believe, either by Eric or by this gentleman. And you can see there's a lot of differences. There's square corners. It was probably cut like on a piece of cardboard or not cardboard, a certain piece of paper stock, right? So it's like kind of rough. I mean, it's going to be hard to tell on camera, but it's not like your regular alpha cards. It's a little more sturdy, I guess I would say. Just a different feel, just an entirely different card stock than you get from the actual factory. So it was local print. You see the print was kind of rough. They probably cut it themselves with maybe like a paper cutter or something like that. So they're not perfectly centered or anything. So it's just kind of like a cool, like early playtest artifact, I guess I would say. I don't want to compare them to the Gamma cards and Magic the Gathering because that was just a different age and different time, different way things worked. But in a way, it's kind of like that. It's just early development, playtest type stuff. So I was interested because I love the early history of Sorcery. I really wanted to have these cards and look at how the illustrations evolved in some cases, or which were used for alpha and which were not. How the different cards from like name titles, like I was just describing, the aesthetics of the back in terms of color tones and different finishings with the name and how that presents on the card, that kind of stuff, right? I wanted to kind of document all that history. So on my website, collectorarthouse.com, I have a lot of articles, that kind of get into that. And really in the early days of my YouTube channel, I also did a lot of coverage of that. So you could see me going through these cards and kind of talking about the differences from modern cards. Look at that, the Gray Wolves. How about that one? Too fluent. The Gray Wolves as a Spellcraft card. That's a hot one. And the Peasant Rebellion, I can't remember if that actually made it into alpha, if that was used. I know the Rolling Boulder was not used. So that's a cool nuance. And there's a couple questions here, so let me go back. Another t-shirt flex to kick things off. That's funny. Are they going to do beta binders for us to collect beta set with? I assume they are. So the only thing we know on that was a comment from Eric. I think it was, Eric used to be a lot more prevalent in the official Discord. He really does not comment there that much anymore. It's more so Simon and Chase, sometimes some of the other employees of Eric's Curiosa. So you don't hear much from Eric, but I think it was Eric that made the comment that if there is a market for that, they would reproduce those. They would do the binders, obviously playmats, and I don't know about, they had talked about attempting to do sleeve backs, with the sorcery art as the backs of the sleeves. but they haven't. I guess like that was one of the potential stretch goals that they were considering, and they ended up not carrying through with that. I think they got some test product from the printer, it sounded like, based on comments that Simon had made, where they really did not think that the print quality or the finish quality of those sleeves was up to their standards for the project. So they decided not to do that. So what I'm doing here, guys, is pulling these out of the binder so we don't have the Spellcraft side facing, but rather we can see what these cards are. And then it'll also be easier to showcase these if you guys want to talk about the Spellcraft cards a little bit before I slot them back into the binder. Once you have things in the binder, kind of a pain in the ass. It takes a little time to shimmy them out of there. I'm trying to be careful because these are a cool collectible. I mean, I don't know like what monetary value they'd have, nor do I really care because I'm not looking to sell these. These are just like my personal collection and a real awesome historical memento that I wanted to have to kind of, again, document the history of the game and share that with the community. All right. All right, so I think I got the audio fixed. Let's see what other questions I missed. What is this about? I just bought a slab foil Death Dealer on Discord, and apparently it was the first sorcery card ever graded and first ever graded by BGS. Ah, interesting. I'm getting some lag here. Shit. Hopefully that doesn't persist. I don't know what other types of things are running in the background. A foil Death Dealer card. Yeah. It could be. There isn't a lot out on the streets from BGS just yet. I think, like, you know, Simon just officially announced that that BGS is open for business. That was in the announcement of the beta delay. And also CGC is open for business. And I got something coming from CGC for auction. It's an absolute monster. And it's pretty good grade as well. So that'll be pretty hot. I expect maybe I'll have that within the month or at least the next few weeks because the grade is it's in the database, but I graded it for convenience. I graded it through a middleman service that does grading, and it's out of state, even out of country. So the shipping time will take a bit of time to get to me, but the grading work is done. And you guys will be really excited when you see that come for auction. Speaking of which, too, I'll come back to the. Should I show the card that's live for auction right now? I don't know. People are getting. I'm just gonna get it. All right. If you're working on a Saturday, this is not safe for work, but there is this card that's currently up for auction right now on the Collector Arthouse Discord and the Sorcery Contested Realm community group, and it is sexual in nature. You know, it makes you really wonder what Mikhail had in mind for these tadpole pool frogs, right? So it looks like, you know, these two guys are just swimming on past, right? But they're also kind of conjoined. And what is this creeper up to right here? You know, you thought nothing of it when you first saw the tadpole pool, but, you know, Mikhail's got a wild imagination and he likes to make provocative artwork. Will YouTube shut this down? I don't know. Is it a risk, Lewis? I don't know, man. I think it's just art, in my opinion. Although I did try to share a couple of the references that so this is like a Japanese style of art that was prevalent in the 1600s until like 1860 or so. 1862, I think, was the year. So for almost 3 centuries, you know, like 280 some years, something like that. This was like a style of artwork that was very popular in Japan. And it was highly sexual. It was like all these like sexual images of these different people, man and woman. And the next one, I've only showed a couple people privately because what I'm going to do for the next one is probably pixelate the graphic areas, the sexual areas. And then, so like when it comes up on the Facebook feed, it won't just like slap you in the face. You know, if you're at work just scrolling through it might be a little graphic for some people. So what I'm going to do is show a pixelated version as the main featured version when that goes for auction, and then put the full version in the comment thread. But this is the artwork, guys. Tadpole pool. All right. And it made some people uncomfortable on Facebook. It was polarizing. I mean, so there was another one where he had a doggy style 2 frogs going at it that sold for like $1,000, and it was very popular. It got like 50 likes, emojis on Facebook, which is fairly substantial for the group. You know, usually things get like 10 to 20, 30 likes. But this is pretty wild. The actual detail in the execution is really cool. The snake, I mean, the scales of the snake is awesome. The eyes, the face, the graphic nature of it biting off the neck of this frog, and just the satisfied look of this frog here is pretty hilarious. And there's a matching sketch, too, with a different facial experience. It's very funny. But anyway, that one's up for auction now. It's at $500 right now. The other one sold for $1,000. What I wanted to show, the one that's going to come tonight at 8 o'clock, a little more tame, but we're still going to have some nudity. So some would call this more tasteful nudity. Severin Pignou is an extremely popular artist. This is one of my favorite artworks from her in the set, Sleep. And I've told a story before. I once proposed like a flavor text here for the bottom of this card that Eric really liked, and he used on one of the updates for Tabletop Simulator. So it was in the game for a hot minute. Unfortunately, they scrubbed all of the flavor text for the game, and they changed a ton of it when it came out for Final Alpha. So it didn't survive till the Final Alpha release. They did change that flavor text, but this is a beautiful artwork. And keep in mind, this is a signature element of Severin's style, right? Where she has a human figure blended with nature, right? Almost becomes consumed by the nature elements and composition around her, and it becomes like one. It kind of unifies the human element with some kind of natural element. In this case, the flowers, the plant, the foliage from the flower. So now I'm going to show the painting that she did on this. You see this is square corner, artist proof. And she did this beautiful painting. So again, nudity. I don't know. Maybe it's controversial to some. But you have this beautiful artwork. Cards not sleeved. This is the way they were shipped to me. So I will slot this into a penny sleeve. Of course. So I need to do that for a few that she sent to me. But this is number 2 of 25. I usually do a penny and a top loader. But I haven't touched this from how she sent it to me. When I take it out later to photograph for the listing, I will do that, and I'll slot it into a penny and top loader. So anyway, this is the painting. This is 2 of 25. Pignou, 2023, right? So beautiful artwork. Again, shows more of the figure, so it's just a zoomed in face, and then this shows with the bed of flowers this beautiful lady. So really cool, really nicely done by Severin. Great artwork. Let me see. So we got some trolls up in here today. Yeah, the binder looks kind of cheap and tacky. It's a nice binder. I don't know. Maybe it looks like that on camera, but it's pretty well done. I mean, the outside is like okay. It's not. I wouldn't call it like super premium. I mean, it feels very sturdy and solid and nice. I think it is good quality. The sleeves inside are very high quality. No issues at all with those. I think that'll hold up very nicely. There's no rings or anything. It zips up. The zipper feels nice. It feels quality, you know? It's not going to... I don't think it's going to break down or fade with time all that much. All right, so I'm caught up on comments. What we're going to do next is go back to the Spellcraft cards. All right. If you guys, I do have other proofs. If you guys want, let me know if you want in the chat if you want to see. I have a whole box here of Elvira Pawlikowska artist proofs, and we can take a look at those. There's what she had done was about 4 or 5 complete sets, and like several have sold. I think some have bought several. We auctioned several of those. Some have sold privately. I'm offering more of these privately, so this will come up in the Collector Arthouse Discord In the link to pretty much all of my videos, definitely all of my recorded videos of late for the past couple months. There's a link to Linktree, and you could join my Collector Arthouse Discord. What I'm going to do is list all of those cards by Elvira Palakowska at fixed prices based on rarity, ordinary, exceptional, elite, and unique. And people can claim those. There's quite a few of those. Some, there's only like 1 or 2 copies left of each given card. I know I have one of every card from Alpha. She has 17 cards in the Alpha debut, and I do have at least 1 copy of every single one. In some cases, up to about 4, maybe 5 at most. Some only have 1, 2, or 3. All right. All right. So let's get into Spellcraft cards. Yeah, I've shown these before. This might be redundant if you guys have been following the channel for a while. Actually, let me do it like this. We'll just look at one at a time. So Spellcraft, right? So in early development, Sleeping Giant. So it might sound familiar, right? This is done by Elvira Palakowska, who I was just talking about. This is a painting that probably many of you have not seen before because it was not used in Alpha. And I don't believe it was ever made as a sample card either. So it's a very unique piece of history. It's an artwork that maybe we will find. You know, the one that was finally was used is kind of similar. It was done by Liz Danforth, and it was used in Alpha. It's called Slumbering Giantess, I believe, was the final Alpha name that was used. But this one was also done by Elvira Palakowska, and perhaps we will see this as an alternate art in a future set. You know, there's some speculation that, hey, maybe this would be a curio. Maybe there's going to be curio alt arts in beta, or maybe it'll be introduced and revised. And those are dual purpose. You know, it could be a way to retire the alpha artwork and make some of the artwork in alpha exclusive and retain some value, while also making the cards accessible to future players, you know, at a lower price point. So pretty cool. Yeah, it would help to have some mods. I don't think anyone's being too nasty. I mean, whatever. Some of these guys are anti-sorcery. It doesn't matter. Anyways, the Sleeping Giant, an elite mythic, rests his eyes here. The giant sleeps until attacked and must immediately attack the creature that woke it up. Yeah, beautiful artwork. Do I think the revised will have stone and cores? Yeah, I do, because I think they need to. Those are like really core staple cards in Alpha and in the meta gameplay. So, yeah, I think they will be printed. The question is, will they be alternate artwork in some cases, like I was just saying, or will it just be the same artwork, or will there be different finishes on the face of the card? You know, what if they went to like a black border instead of the full art? I don't know. They could change anything, really, but I think Eric is into the idea of value preservation of the early sets as a guy that's into vintage Magic, ABU sets, and all that kind of stuff. So another interesting thing, you know, the flavor text quotes were pretty lengthy in a lot of cases here. I mentioned that those changed on a lot of cards for Final Alpha. Also, this was a quick magic spell, and that quick effect is now largely gone. I think it's still on dodge roll, and quick means you could play it on your opponent's turn, right? So this was like a counter spell that you could play on your opponent's turn, and that effect largely was eliminated for Alpha. They were having some problems in the early development where that was not all that viable. It was a little problematic. They didn't like how that affected the gameplay. So they wanted to hold that off, and they said they're thinking they might do that for a future set. So we'll see if that gets reintroduced. But another interesting thing about the Spellcraft cards here, it shows you that glimpse of the early history and, you know, how that was there. All right. York Crossbowman. Very cool. Now, the nuance on this one, as I recall, notice how this building tower goes all the way up to the title box. In the final Alpha version, which I don't think I have handy at the moment, I could call up my website. You'd see that, yeah, maybe I will do that in a moment to show you guys the difference. But I recall from memory here, talking with another guy in my Discord, Vincent, he noticed that this was revised and brought down, so this does not go up into the title box, this building here. It's a little abbreviated and shorter, so it's kind of cool. Let me, yeah, as I say, let me call up the website. So what I'm going to do is pull up another page, and then I will present my screen over there. All right, guys, this is what we're going to do. So we're going to present. we got a Flesh and Blood fan going hard. The multiple games could coexist in this market, guys. I don't think that Sorcery really competes head to head with Flesh and Blood per se. They're both TCGs. Who cares? Big deal. You know, Sorcery isn't like a hyper competitive project like Flesh and Blood is, so it's a different angle. It's a different aspect of the market that they're trying to target. So there's room. There's room for plenty. All right, so let's go to the Sorcery cards. Andrea Modesti. And I'm going to come down to... All right. Right here, guys. All right, Yorick Crossbowman. So not... Oh, shit, that did not help, did it? Hopefully you have a larger screen and that's coming across okay. Take a look at the building structure up here. You see how it's actually a different style building too. So Andrea either repainted this or he just... I doubt he repainted the entire painting because the rest of it looks actually the same. And it's not... It looks like Eric... Maybe... Yeah, he didn't simply shift the card down, right? Or the illustration down. In some cases, he either zoomed in or zoomed out on the illustration to make it fit the card better. But on this one, this was definitely repainted, right? Because the entire building structure is different. It's shorter, and it just goes to the meticulousness that Eric had in the design finish for these cards, that he wanted this pull down. It probably bothered him that crept up into the title box. So now if I go to... Let me see if I can do this. All right, so keep that building there at the forefront of your mind. Let me see if I can... All right, that'll work, right? So let's take a look at this now. And now, man, I'm sorry about this lag. I don't know what's up with my laptop today. So see the building? The building design is quite different from the final alpha version. So it's just an interesting nuance that we get from alpha versus the early Spellcraft cards. All right. What's up, Jurgen? Dude, if you want to pop in and chat, let me know. I also see Sophie on. You're also welcome to jump on if you'd like. Thanks for joining. If you guys want to come on, be happy to have a guest. Talk about Spellcraft, talk about the latest announcement, or whatever. Just talk about Sorcery in general. Just reading some of the comments here. Guys, are you talking about Lorcana? I think the people interested in Sorcery would be interested in Lorcana. It shows you don't understand the product at all. It's different markets. It's a different demographic for sure, right? All right. So Rolling Boulder. It's another artwork from Doug Kovacs. Doug only has a few in the set that actually made it into alpha. I think 3 cards, as I recall, off of memory. And there's another... All right, Jurgen, this is what we're going to do, man. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to jump onto Discord, and all I have to do is send you a link, and you'll be able to pop right on here through your setup, through your laptop or whatever you do to stream, even your iPhone if you really wanted to. So let's see if we could make this happen. All right. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Go to invite, copy that link. Let me hit you up on Discord here. All right. Here we go, Jurgen. Hopefully I'm pronouncing your name correctly as well. All right, so you have that link, man, in Discord DMs. And if you go in there, just click that link and it should come right up and you'll pop right into there. Yeah, it's good chat going on. In the Collector Arthouse Discord, so I'm just letting the guys know that we're live. All right. All right, so it looks like Jurgen's going to join us from Nerds and Proud of It. Great channel. MTG guy at heart. That's maybe fallen in love with sorcery as well, which is awesome. And if Sophie, if you're still out there, if you want to pop in too, you're also welcome. More the merrier. In the meantime, while Jurgen figures out how StreamYard works, we'll keep going. Check this out, guys. The oh shit! Sorry to hear that, Sophie. Hope you feel better. Highland Titan, guys. So this was changed to Rightness Titan. Really cool. So remember when we started the stream, I talked about how the regions of the map showed on here? Here we go. Yo, man. You know what? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Wait, I can't hear you. Hang on. I muted my audio. I'm going to put my AirPods on. The audio will be much better. So I got to turn the... I probably shouldn't show that. Hang on. I got to turn the Bluetooth off on my phone. And then I'm going to do it through my computer. And then I'll be able to hear you a lot better. So bear with me a moment. All right, need the keyboard back. Bluetooth. All right, so we're going to go Bluetooth is on. And that is connected. So I need my audio back. All right. You got me?
Yeah, I hear you. Can you hear me too?
Yeah, nice, man. I hear you. Let me, I'm getting a lot of echo, though. So let me figure out what's going on. All right, so do that. Actually, all right, hang on. I think it's because of my overhead cam feed. So I got to mess with some of the audio settings there.
Oh, cool. I switched off YouTube completely, so I'm just listening to you here, which works fine for me.
Okay, cool. All right. It sounds much better on my end. How is it, people in comments? Can you guys hear okay? Yeah, someone comment if you're hearing the audio okay. And let me do this. There we go.
Nice.
You got a nice setup there, man. I like that overhead mic. So you got like one of these rack things. You just got it tilted.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you have your webcam set up? I noticed it's a lot more stable than mine. You see everything bouncing around with mine.
Yeah, I got it on the screen actually. So, but I'm moving it around constantly. Normally, I have the setup the other way, but it's a bit messy today because I'm cleaning the man cave.
Nice.
Yeah. So, but everything is fixed. The microphone is fixed with one of those arms, and that works very well for me. I use that for recording as well. So the setup normally is the same.
Your audio is always good. So is it you have like a monitor that has a webcam built in, or do you use like a desktop computer or laptop or something? Your laptop?
Yeah, I used to use a laptop, but it gave up. It just got too hot recently, and it's a couple of years old. So I got a desktop now. I bought one off work for $50, but it's a lot better than the laptop.
Oh, so where's the webcam? It's like attached to your monitor, or it's built into the monitor?
No, it's attached. It's just a loose webcam. I got a couple of those.
Okay.
Oh, where are you? Here are you. So a couple of those. This is a 720p, but I got a 1080p up there. Logitech, just a loose webcam, and that's how it works. Quality is pretty awesome, I think, for what it is and for how much it costs. Yeah,
no doubt. Yeah, mine's like on like a shitty little stand, so it just like bounces around.
I think it's still okay. You don't look like you're getting seasick soon, so
yeah. So what's up, man? You've been tell these guys like you're back. I know a lot of people know you in the community, but you have like a very large Magic the Gathering following. How did you like get into sorcery? I wonder.
How did I get into sorcery? Actually, I got into sorcery via Rudy. But maybe it's nice to know. It's not that I'm afraid to be on camera, but I just like to stay anonymous. And for what it is in the Netherlands, it's a very small country. That's where I live, the Netherlands, close to Amsterdam. And there have been a couple of shady things going on with people like wanting to buy cards and then showing up with a couple of people, and I don't want anybody next to the bed of my kids asking for like rare sorcery cards. So that's the only thing why I stay anonymous. But I got into sorcery watching Rudy's video about the Kickstarter actually, and I am backing, like as you can see, like board games on Kickstarter as well. Big board game guy, Magic the Gathering guy for years, big video game guy, comic guy. So I collect, according to my wife, I collect too much stuff. So yeah.
So you go for full. You're like one of the rare guys that's still going after like full collections of Magic, right? Just the old school sets, or what? How do you do that?
Yeah, just the old sets. I'm not collecting the new sets because that doesn't interest me very much, and with too many variants, I don't think that's interesting. And I'm lucky. I started playing Magic the Gathering 30 years ago, so I was one of the first guys actually in Germany playing it, and played a bit competitively as well in the beginning. Not anymore, not my thing anymore, but it was good fun. But I still had a lot of the cards. So I recently completed my Antiquities set. And I am, that is awesome.
That's
and
amazing.
Now I try to complete an Antiquities artist proof set actually. So I got 4 more cards today from Jeff A. Mangus. So
I saw those. Yeah, damn,
those are fantastic.
Jeff's amazing.
Yeah, he definitely is. So
the Citadel Druid is from that set, right?
Yes. Haunting Wind, Citadel Druid, Battering Ram, and the 4th one is I just made a video about it. What was the 4th one? Oh, the Chalice, of course. Yes.
Oh, okay.
It's always like that. If you're put on the spot, then you forget stuff, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, when I interviewed Jeff, I asked him about the Druid because he has the I got to go back to the website here. I forget, what did they end up calling his Druid card? Did it? I know you did like some cool videos too, where you compared how like some of the names and the art concepts were similar from Magic to Sorcery. I actually was doing a lot of research with what is that? You know those guys, the Unsleevables? Do you ever watch that YouTube channel? I think that's what they're called.
No,
I think it's called.
I don't.
I don't know if I got the name right. I want to say it's Unsleevables. They have like a massive following. I guess they went on a hiatus for a long time and then they came back. So they're doing like these deep dives. You would love this. They're talking about like set by set from the very beginnings of Magic. They're talking about like how the game came into being, like everything there is to know about Alpha and then Beta, Unlimited, Antiquities, all of them, right? The Dark. So it's really cool and nostalgic. So I was like watching those, taking like notes furiously, and then comparing it to like how Sorcery came to market, because Eric's like a huge old school Magic guy himself, and he's like taking a lot of homage to
definitely you see it in his approach. Of course, you see it the simple fact that the Alpha cards have round corners, but the way he launched Alpha as well, I think is very it's a big homage to Magic the Gathering. But you see it with the cards as well. Like you said, I compared certain cards. I started, I think, with Psionic Blast because it's one of my favorite cards from back in the day. Had a playset, won me a couple of tournaments, loved it ever since. And of course, you got the Psionic Blast and Sorcery as well, and I put them next to each other. Would be awesome if they would have been done by the same artist, but unfortunately, I think that might be a bit tricky when it comes to rights. But they still look very similar and kind of like the mind stuff going on when you hit with a Psionic Blast. But you got a lot of others as well, of course. Look at Apprentice Wizard. You got the one of the Dark, and then you got it in Sorcery as well. The Giant Shark, the big card of the Dark as well, Sorcery card too. And I mean, it's generic. It's creatures, but you got that with a couple of other very specific cards as well. Dark Ritual, Lightning Bolt, and these cards. Yeah, sometimes it's very, very similar.
Yeah.
What do you think about, by the way, while I have you here? I think I haven't asked you yet. What do you think about the timing of the Frank Frazetta release of cards like Dark Ritual and the Death Dealer for the Secret Lair? That it came out exactly at the time that Sorcery had planned its release.
Yeah, I know. So, like, I did a video, like, right when that happened. And first of all, like, we'll talk about, like, was it a coincidence or not, I think is what you're getting at. But my video talked about more, like, I was, like, thrilled that happened. Because it was, like, massive free publicity for Sorcery in my mind. Because, like, a lot of people amazingly don't know who Frazetta is. Like, just like regular TCG people that I think Sorcery is really getting people into the artwork illustrations that are on the cards and like discovering the artists themselves as much as and same as the artwork as well. But they don't know Frazetta. They don't know like fantasy art beyond, you know, the alpha magic artists and things like that. So that was kind of cool. So it was like kind of like a double whammy. Like for one, it tied Frazetta to fantasy art and then to TCGs. So people that are like regularly into the TCG scene, but not as much of the art, now know that there's this iconic artist. And then the other way, the other way is Frazetta fans started getting interested in Sorcery. So there's like some crossover both ways, which is awesome. And it's kind of similar with a lot of artists in Sorcery. Like another good example is Rodney Matthews, who is like another older era artist. He's like, I think late 70s or something. He's been around a long time, you know. Frazetta's passed away, but Rodney's still with us, thankfully, and an awesome artist, a great guy. And he's like massive in the old school, like classic rock, like artist album cover scene, and all types of other fantasy art. But a lot of people have seen his artwork, but they wouldn't have tied it like to who the artist was that did it, because they'll see it on T-shirts or posters or album
do you have
covers
some examples like bands I might know? Because I'm a big classic rock guy too, but I'm just curious now.
Oh man, oh yeah, like off the cuff, I'm trying.
Yeah, it's the same thing I had just a minute ago. If you put it on the spot, it's very difficult. No, but then of course it was positive. I mean, they tried. I think they tried to be difficult and just put it out around the same time, same as they did with Vials of Eldraine now and Lorcana, of course. But in general, I think it was beneficial for Sorcery. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so in terms of like the coincidence of the two, I don't think it was like a situation of Magic saw Sorcery do it and then they copied it. A lot of people are speculating like, oh, they're trying to copy Sorcery, Sorcery's ideas. But I think funny thing is
when I released the video comparing the two kind of cards, because they were all very much the same, just called different. All the Magic the Gathering fans said, Sorcery, that's an MTG ripoff. But the Sorcery guys said it would be the other way around because Sorcery announced it first. So that was really funny to hear.
Yeah, but like they came out fairly close together. So I think like something to pull off like a project like that, to get it licensed, to work out the contractual details with the Frazetta girls, you know, that run the Frazetta operation. I don't think that happens like quickly enough for Magic to have copied them. I think it's more likely that, well, one, it might have been somewhat coincidental because like from what I understand, I think it was Simon's idea. If you know Simon from the company that does a lot of the announcements, I think he actually came up with the Frazetta idea. And because Eric had mentioned like he wasn't sure it would be possible, he was like really pumped and excited that he was able to even license work like that. So long story short, I think it was like something like that is a long time in the making. It takes a while to work out the agreements. So I don't think like one or the other could have turned on a dime to copy the others. I think it's more likely that maybe the Frazetta girls were contacted by Sorcery or Magic, one or the other first, and then realize there's a market here for TCGs. And maybe they reached out to some other major labels and got a deal done. You know, maybe it's more prompted by them, is what I would guess.
No, I think that's normally a license comes free at a certain point in time, and then companies that are looking for these kind of licenses check out like oversights with all the names on it, so they might have recognized it around the same time. But I think the timing of the release from Wizards of the Coast is not coincidental, but that's my opinion.
maybe they moved the announcement up. Yeah, maybe it was in a pipeline to come out later, 6 months later or something like that. And they're like, those guys are doing it, we'll do it too. If they even know. A lot of people like honestly don't know Sorcery exists, although I would think that like employees of Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro would know.
Of course.
They're more in tune. They go to like the art shows and stuff. I was at the IX art show last year, and there was a guy from WotC. He was like, I forget if he said he was like a video production guy or something like that. And because I was like, I was talking about Sorcery. I was like, you know about Sorcery? And he's like, nah. He's like, he works for WotC, so he's probably, he probably doesn't like care so much about the other games, but like
It-
a lot of people don't know about it yet. You know?
Very true, but be aware that I don't know if you know, but I used to work
Yeah.
for the Dutch distributor for board games, trading card games, and I did a lot of stuff for Wizards around mid of the 2000s, so a long time ago. Back then, Wizards
Okay.
was still okay. Now I am not a friend of Wizards of the Coast, to be clear,
Okay.
and their practices. But a lot of friends of mine worked there and got fired and so on. So a
Oh.
lot of bad stuff happened end of the 2000s. But we were invited to Belgium over to the European head office on a regular basis, normally 2-3
Oh.
times a year, and we got competitor analysis. So we were informed about games that were coming out and other trading card games. So I'm very sure that at least the marketing people, the sales people get information about competitive games. Probably not the video art guy, but normally the people in the marketing department, sales department, these kind of people, management, they normally get educated on that.
Yeah. Yeah. So the last point about the Frazetta thing is, I think it's the other thing that makes me think it was like more the Frazetta girls pushing it is like the exact same Frazetta artworks were used in both games, and the Curio was actually, if I'm not mistaken, that was one of the secret layer cards, right, for Magic.
Yeah.
So even that one was used, and like that was the odd one out. You're like, all right, they used the Ruler of Thol, the Courtesan Tice. I'm using the sorcery names, not the Frazetta, the real Frazetta names, and the
That's okay.
Except Death Dealer. Death Dealer, they preserved the real name, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And in Magic changed the names as well, but it was the same arts, you know. So maybe, I don't know. That could be someone's conspiracy theory that Magic copied the exact same artwork that was chosen from Frazetta. But I think it's more likely that the Frazetta girls decided those are the ones they want to license. You know?
Hey, definitely. Normally, you have a couple you license out, and then different parties can actually buy into that. So I definitely agree that that is the case. I'm talking more about the timing and not or the intentional. The not unintentional, intentional timing of Wizards.
Yeah,
But,
it's interesting.
Oh, I'm just checking the chat if the people are still here because it was very quiet.
I know. Yeah. If anyone has any topics or questions, feel free to chime in the chat.
What do you think? What do you think about the delay of the beta?
I've had like a lot of mixed thoughts. Like as I think more through it and time to digest it, like. At first, I was like, "Oh yeah, it makes sense," you know, because like I think like doing a staggered release was a pretty bad feel, even for like people receiving product in different markets. I mean, it was kind of exciting as the Canadians were ripping through them and like hitting hot stuff. It was still a lot of fun, but other people like had to wait months later. It wasn't like it was like a couple weeks, you know, it was months. So it was pretty rough. Months. Like it. Yeah, and it was like even like each region of the world. Like then like Americans were satisfied. We got a lot of it, but like Europeans I think maybe came a little later, but like the Asian markets were much later.
Yeah, true.
And it causes a lot of angst and frustration. So I think like preserving doing it all at once was a good idea. However, if they could have, like the word I got from Soho, like a couple of the Soho reps emailed 2 different retailers that I know, like the guys that have LGSs, and they told them that they had 75% of the product ready. The initial thought, or I guess like one approach that was considered, let's say, was to release 75% of it in wave 1 and then have a second wave of another 25%. But what we don't know was like 75% like the American market and then 25% was all other markets. So you couldn't preserve that staggered release. Maybe that wouldn't have been as palatable. Like we can't assume that it was just like less boxes available for every market versus boxes available for some markets and then not at all for others. So I can't really judge that one way or the other. So in the absence of that context, that's a critical piece of context, I think, that would bias my answer to like, was it the right call or not? Because I think there's pros and cons either way. A delay, the biggest problem with the delay, in my opinion, is like the credibility issue of meeting timelines, setting expectations, and making, especially like, I think customers can deal with that, but for the like the end consumers can deal with that, people like us that are buying the cards. But for retailers, that becomes very challenging because they have cash flow considerations to deal with, and it might be convenient in this case because I think there's isn't there like the Magic Lord of the Rings that's coming out is like Isn't
It's
that
the second.
October? When is
It's
that?
more close to Christmas, but I think as from November. But there's a second
Oh,
set
okay.
related to Lord of the Rings coming out. The first Lord of the Rings set has been released a couple of weeks ago. It was very, very successful. I talked to a lot of retailers and LGSs, and they said it was the best set they had in a very long time. Simply, people I think underestimated the brand and the love of the brand. But yeah, there's another one coming out close to the beta now. So the second part
Okay.
for the Lord of the Rings set. So that might be a bit difficult. Yeah, that's what I think. I talked about that in video, and I had mixed feelings about the delay of the beta as well. I understand that you say like, yeah, we as a consumer can deal with it, and I think it's okay, but there's a lot of money tied up in it. I ordered almost 2 cases, and the boxes were $150 here per box. So yeah, that's and I ordered a couple of extra precons to give out to my brother and some friends maybe, and I think I got like $1,500, $2,000 tied up in it. And I have to wait for another couple of months, which is not nice. But on the other hand, I received my Kickstarter a little later as well, so I'm confident everything will be released a little later, but it will get there eventually.
Yeah.
But I don't think the argument of moving away from a busy release period is a good one, because it's getting more and more busy towards the end of the year always. There are a lot of sets coming out, a lot of unexpected stuff coming out. People need their money for something else. Like if you look at Christmas, it's not only us having our toys, but we have to buy toys for the kids as well. Expensive times. You can only spend your money once, so might be a bit tricky. And why did I have to pre-order so early? That's what I ask myself.
Yeah, I think what also kind of makes that aspect worse is they had that exclusive pre-order deal with Team Covenant, and it was when was that?
Still open. It's crazy.
I think it just closed like a few days ago.
On the 9th, it's today. Yeah, I saw a short by them, and they're like, you can still open, but now it's finally closed. I think they said like 6 times already.
Okay, yeah. But the thing is, I think didn't that start in like May or something? It was like many months ago. So people's money's been tied up a long time. So to delay it again is not a good feel in that regard. I would agree. And then I agree with you. There's some risk, like. So what I was getting at before is I think there's like another game, maybe it's Flesh and Blood, that has like another set release on the exact same day or like very close to that October 6th date. So I think that's like convenient in some ways for LGSs that's now staggered. However,
is that why our friend in the chat is so angry?
Yeah, I don't know. He's like me. We love the game, but we could also be critical of some of the decisions, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
So like there's that issue. So it separates that. That's a pro. But the fact that they had money tied up that long, that's a negative. The credibility with retailers and the uncertainty that causes, because they need to like establish that confidence and grow the game to more retailers, and also retain their current retailers and retain the confidence of their customers. Like people like, I mean, I'm a super fan. I'm going to stick with it. But like some people like will be like, I can play this other game. You know, they have choices, right? But you make a good one too. Like pushing it so close to the holidays. That should be a concern for retailers too, because money is going to start going towards Christmas money. You know,
exactly. That's what I meant. And don't forget the hype factor. Marketing is not at its best for Sorcery, and they're doing all they can. And I think they hired people to do marketing, communication. Social media was one of the first things they tackled, which I think is very important. Just communicate with your audience, and I think that's very good. But in general, there's virtually no marketing being done for the game. And I understand that that's their last concern. But if the hype dies down, which I believe it has somewhat, I see a lot of people like being busy with other stuff. And there are these essential content creators like yourself, like Wizards then. And I count myself. I still make regular sorcery content, and Cardboard Guy does as well, as you know. And we cover everything, but I see a lot of other content creators like turning their gaze towards something else. Except for Louis, he's still opening boxes. I think he's above 80 boxes now, right?
Yeah,
it's crazy.
He's stocking his store. So, but the one thing, About the marketing, a couple interesting counterpoints I heard is that so they had the alpha debut was printed demand, so that product was completely sold, right? And then there was this 16-month or 14 months maybe until alpha came out in the first markets. So there's that huge extended period where there was nothing to sell. So some people are of the mind that you still have to do the aggressive marketing push to start thinking ahead to beta and future sets and grow the game, like position the company as a known entity to grow the game. But the company took the approach that every time they put out content or took some advertising angle, they'd get inundated with requests and people would get upset. They'd get like 30 messages, right? Like right away. Where can I buy this? How do I get it? And they're like, oh, it's not even coming out for another year. And they'd get upset, right?
That's definitely a thing. You don't have to do marketing if there's no product available, because then you're throwing away money and then the hype will die down again. So that's totally true. I totally agree with that, but in general, for the pre-order was there, so you pre-ordered product, so at least you could have pushed that a little more. But maybe they already knew that it would take them a little longer. By the way, I don't know if you saw it. There was somebody asking in the chat if there's already a starting sorcery community in the Netherlands. I don't know of one, unfortunately. I have one guy that actually backed the Kickstarter as well as I do, and I know him because he approached me on my channel, and I know he's a regular on my channel for a couple of years. So I went over and opened a couple of his boxes on camera, which was good fun, and we talked about it a lot, but I didn't really see a lot of people playing. And I asked the big stores, by the way. I don't know, for you it's different, of course, in the States. And I asked the big stores here in the Netherlands. I asked them in Germany. I asked them in Belgium. And I know some will carry it as from the beta. But a lot of stores said no, which was a shame, I think, especially the bigger retailers over here in Europe. There are some really big ones that are like just moving boxes, really big quantities. Yeah. They are getting in on Lorcana and so on as a new game, and on Flesh and Blood a little bit, but not on Sorcery yet, which is a bit of a shame. I think that's a missed opportunity. Why do you think they didn't do a Kickstarter for the beta? That would have been perfect. I hate like hoping that a certain store will honor my pre-order and will honor that they will have to send out the promo cards with that, because Flesh and Blood, for me, it never worked. It only worked with Monarch, and of course we were all fucked because the product was overprinted. But for the rest, I pre-ordered. Didn't pre-order Alpha, but I pre-ordered like Welcome to Wraith normal edition, like the first edition, and then what was it? Arcane Rising, and then the other one. And I never got any boxes, and they sold the stuff on eBay for more, and they sold the promos on eBay for more. So that's a bit shitty over here. Even the regular stores, So why didn't they do another Kickstarter? I know you have to get it into stores to play and so on, but at least it would have been available for everybody again without a big hassle.
I assume it was probably just part of their strategic plan from the very beginning. Like they do a Kickstarter campaign that would provide some initial awareness and funding, because Eric had invested a few $100,000 in art commissions. When you do the math on 400 paintings times, it's crazy. Like assume it's even like $1,000 on average per commission. Let's just say. I know it varied based on artist, but. Yeah, let's say it's like $300,000 upfront investment. So the Kickstarter recuperates some of that cost, but then I think they always had the plan to then get into distribution and go through mainstream fulfillment channels. Because like part of the tricky thing about Kickstarter is that a lot of the burden is on them. Like they are their own customer service for like all these issues going on with their fulfillment partner. I think once they go through mainstream distribution, that burden then transfers over to, like in the U.S., it's Southern Hobby and Peach State are the two main distributors that they're using. So they'll deal with the stores, or actually they'll sell to the stores. So then they're detached from that problem, and then the stores will deal with their own customer service support. And then that burden's off of the tiny little 9-person company. There's that. And then just the advantages of starting to build out your retailer network mainstream instead of going direct to consumer. That's just a natural progression for any indie startup, I would say.
True. But no, I get it. I just think it hasn't been handled perfectly, and I think it was okay. But for us over here in Europe, it was very difficult to order a product. I was lucky to get in a couple of boxes, and I had to get them in at 2 different retailers because they weren't allowing more than like a case. And I still hope they will honor the delivery if they get it. And I asked if they're going to send out promos together with the boxes, and they were like, yeah, we're going to allocate them if we don't get enough. So that's already like a bad sign. If I order like 12 boxes, I would like 12 buy a box promos, but I don't expect it. I'm happy if I get like 2.
The way they worded the promos, it wasn't exactly clear if there's going to be enough, because like I partnered with a store to offer it through my Patreon, and like the wording he got was like, we don't know exactly how many buy a box promos we're going to get, and we don't know our allocations yet. So there's 34 cases guaranteed. We ordered more than that because there was enough demand. So we ordered from both distributors. You could only get the guarantee from one or the other. So it's 30. We'll get 34 cases for sure. We don't know if we'll get more than that, and we don't know for sure if there's a promo for like just the 34, or is it like literally every single box you order. That's not always the case, and that's not that uncommon. You often get jerked around by these distributors until it shows up, so it's kind of a bummer for everybody.
Fair enough, I get that, and I think honestly, if I get 2 promos out of the 12 boxes I ordered, I get 2 promos more than I normally get.
If they're an ethical dealer, like what I tell people is like, as many as we get, we'll give them out. We're not going to hoard them.
There are still some. Right? Yeah, that's how it should be, and there are still some LGSs that honor that. But there's a lot of stuff ending up online, unfortunately.
I know.
But, it is what
definitely
it is.
Some will do that.
Yeah, and what do you think about the print run?
What do I think the print run will be?
Yeah,
I don't know. Like we were talking about like the marketing strategy and for beta. So in part of the delay announcement, Simon said there was like massive demand for beta. So let me first touch on the marketing point of that. Like I think that's also why they haven't leaned heavily into marketing, because they simply have not needed to. That's one argument, right? Like some would say like you still need to position the company as a known entity and brand, like that you're going to scale later. But I think they're probably selling as much as they can print. Like the distributor is going to buy that, and then the retailers are going to buy that from the distributor. And then we'll see like how the secondary market absorbs that and what happens. But in regard to the print run number, I think I don't know. Like I'd be completely guessing at what it is. I'm just trying to think through like the danger that I always like worry about is that the distributor is like infamous for trying to make you believe that the demand is infinite, because they don't have the risk. Like they'll just push it on the retailers. These retailers are coming to them, like people like me, they're like, give us 100 cases. Like I actually think I could have genuine demand for that. But like other stores do that as just a hedge, because they know in most normal instances, there's no way they're going to get all 100 cases. They're used to getting like half or a quarter or a tenth of that. So it's really hard to gauge a normal demand, but the distributor will tell the game creator that is the true demand. And sometimes that is inflated and detached from reality. But if they have stores that'll suck all that up, then that's fine. The distributor wants to like push through as many boxes as they can, push that burden to the retailer, and then it's on the LGS, and then they have the burden of like hoping the game's marketing it well, or if they're not, they have to market it and try to drum up some demand and move it. Otherwise, they're stuck, spending potentially tens of thousands of dollars and can't move the product. So I don't know. I if I had to guess.
Isn't it the responsibility of the sorcery guys then to be careful with how much they print?
Definitely.
Because okay, good. Then we're on the same.
But I think like there's no perfect way to gauge demand. Like they marketed that Team Covenant offering as a way to gauge demand, but I think that was, unless they were only trying to like gauge localized, somewhat localized like U.S. market demand, maybe. But like Team Covenant doesn't sell a lot internationally, I don't think, because it's not right. Like you guys, it's not not cost effective for you guys.
It's
to buy
not.
From the
it's
US,
not convenient.
Right?
No, I would pay. I pay normally about 21% VAT as extra tax on top of the cost price and the shipping price. Then I pay import price, and then I pay handling and so on. So a box of $150 probably would cost me 220, 230 euros easily, maybe even more. So
wow.
Not a convenient way to buy. But you still didn't give me a number.
What, you want a number?
I want a number. I'm curious. I ask everybody for a number for the beta. I got a number, but I want to hear yours first.
I think hang on a second. I was trying to boot something's like wacky where I tried booting this guy.
Yeah, but I had that as well.
Trolling.
If you are working from streaming programs, I normally work from OBS, then if you're in the streaming chat program, try to ban somebody. That doesn't work. You have to go on YouTube directly, click on him, and then you can ban him. It's that...
I was able to ban him, but like someone either must have commented right at the same time or because it banned the wrong guy. This has happened before. Like a good, like well-intentioned guy. So this guy Widemore... I'm sorry, man. If Widemore is watching, if he's even able to, I accidentally banned him. So I'm trying to go into my settings and revive this guy. The other guy that was trolling, I got him.
Yeah, I don't see his comments anymore.
Yeah, let me see if I could fix that real quick. But in terms of a number, I think they will have the sense to do something reasonably. I think it'll be more than Alpha, certainly. But not like, so Alpha was 30,000. I will say, shit. I hope it's not. Personally, I hope it's like in the 50 to 60K range would be my vote because I think there's demand. I think like people that bought Alpha are largely still in the game and want to buy more. Yeah. So to be some increase just from those folks, that could put you over. Like you'll have some attrition from some people that just like walked away or flipped and don't care anymore. But I think there's like there's enough people that are still there that have an appetite for more. So you're already probably, let's say like that 30K base is still there. And maybe that's like 40K because there's like largely the same amount of people plus they want more potentially than they bought from Alpha. Sure. Or I don't know, it could go the other way where like maybe they don't care as much because they have enough Alpha. But I think there's like been enough time that has lapsed and like awareness that has been generated and like visibility from Rudy and all the content creators, you and I and others.
Don't underestimate
more people
that.
will want it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's I see numbers in the chat that say Sophie says from Cardboard Guide 50 to 60K, but I talked about that to her before, and we're on the same page. I would say 50 to 60K as well. Normally a double print around of the Alpha would probably be a reasonable idea. Then you don't overprint, but you don't underprint neither. It has to be more than Alpha anyways, because at a certain point I was worried when they closed the pre-order that beta could be less than Alpha, and that would be of course disastrous as well. There's somebody saying like 100K. I think that's ridiculous. That's way too much. If it's around 50K up to 60K, I'm okay with it. 40 to 50K I think would be perfect. And I personally agree because everybody that bought Alpha would like to buy a couple of beta boxes as well. I don't want to play with my Alpha. I think I want to keep that and collect that and put that in a binder and enjoy the artwork. I don't want to play with it. I want to use the beta to actually play. And like I said, I'm going to give away a couple of pre-constructed decks to friends and my brother and so on because we always play together. But for the rest, I will use that one for play and the Alpha just for collecting. And I think a lot of people do that. Stopfgun says, I hope it's more than 42,069. Yeah, that is not an unreasonable number, Stopfgans. He's from Germany. It means like a filled goose.
That's what stop F means?
Stopf, which means like pushing it into something. Like
that's funny. I never knew that.
And Gans is goose. Obviously.
Okay. The 50 to 60K, is that what you think they'll do, or is that what you hope they'll do?
No, that's what I think they'll do. I hope they do less, personally. Like 40 to 50, I think is the best approach. You have to be more than Alpha. You have to make it available to a couple of more players. You have to grow the player base now. You have to be fair to the critical mass, which already backed the Alpha. And not overprint because that would destroy collectability in the long run. If you already make a set that has a print run that's too high, and if you're around 40 to 50, I think that's very reasonable to do all that and to accommodate all that without doing any damage, but without printing too less neither. So I think that's a good amount. And 50 to 60, I think is still okay, but I'd rather have 40 to 50, but I think they print 50 to 60.
So you think if if at this juncture, if like Alpha were to retrace very aggressively because they print a larger quantity, or for whatever reason, do you think those collectors are recoverable, or do you think once they walk away they're gone? Because I think like a counter argument that could be made is if this is really supposed to be the player push, it's okay to print a lot and get it in to focus on the players, try to get it, make it as available as it possibly can be for anyone that wants to try it. And then if that has like an impact on Alpha and that retraces, that some might argue that could be recoverable in time, so long as the player base grows and the game grows. In the long run, that'll self-correct again, and prices will start appreciating again. But do you think like once you burn those early collectors from Alpha, they're gone? They'll never look back. I think that happened in Flesh and Blood on the collector side.
Definitely happened in Flesh and Blood. That would be they're definitely gone. I'm gone, and I like the game. And it's not that I wanted to make money off the game, but being fucked over is not something I appreciate. And you could argue that the Monarch boxes were held high by what was it, Channel Fireball or whatever. That one distributor, but the same price was valid here in Europe, and we don't have a big distributor that held up the price, so it came from the top. They just cashed in on that one, and we were all kept in the dark about it, and we finally were able to order some, so we did, and then we overpaid, and then the boxes dropped 50%. I mean, bad luck. Okay, I got 2 cases for double the price, but it's still money I lost, and it's still a very bad experience as a customer that actually liked the game, didn't want to make money off the game. And for Sorcery, I think it would be the same. The people would be gone if they have a negative experience, and it is, I think, the case that Eric mentioned a couple of times, that he's focusing on the collector and that he's like at least looking out for the collector as well. And I am a player and a collector. So I bought into Alpha. I wouldn't like to lose all that money if somebody promised me that I, as a customer, as I am a collector, would be taken care of. So if they print too much, I think some people will be out, and even you could argue that the people that try to make money off the boxes are bad people, but in the end, they made Flesh and Blood the success it is. It's very simple. That's the hype. That's the best marketing you can get. And for the Sorcery Alpha, it's the case as well. It's already retraced a bit, which is fine, but that's the hype dying down. But once Rudy starts hyping the beta, because don't forget, it is the most successful trading card game ever on Kickstarter, with like a couple of million, 4 or 5 million, I think, or 4.5. And that is enormous. And that was only the case because Rudy hyped it. And once he starts to hype beta, and beta print run is reasonable as well, and everybody can get at least a couple of boxes and play, all is good. And then the machine will keep running. It's an ecosystem, like he always says, and that's very true. You can't have one without the other. You will always have to have like collectors, you will have to have players. Most of them are the same. You will have to have investors as well, because otherwise, if the cards don't have any value, then what sense does it make to buy boxes? That's the problem Magic the Gathering has at the moment. So in the end, you're killing your own game. It has to be an ecosystem, and the players are shouting the loudest. That's the problem, and I get it. It's a game, but it's a collectible card game. It's a trading card game, so that implies collectability as well, and I think that's a very important factor.
I think it's a delicate thing because, like, from the collector or investor type mindset, like when that incident happened with Monarch and the print run number was like shockingly high.
125,000 boxes for the first edition.
Yeah, which was like a very, very significant increase from prior sets. Right?
It was double the amount of the 59,000, I think, for the third set. And like again, I'm being put on the spot, but it was like Welcome to Wraith, Arcane Rising, and
Crucible of War.
Crucible of War, yes, exactly. Yeah, I bought a couple of boxes. I still have a couple of unlimited boxes. It was a good set. It was a good set.
The first two were what, like 16K or so, and then I want to say Crucible. What would it end up being? 30 something.
17K for Welcome to Wraith. 34K. It was double for Arcane Rising, and then Crucible was 59, I believe, so a little less than double of Arcane Rising, and then they went to 125 first, and they put out the unlimited edition like 2 weeks after that, so they already had it printed. And I believe that the unlimited edition, and you can say Flesh and Blood is doing fine, but it never recovered of it. Why are the boxes like only $60 and the new boxes as well? I mean, people buy it.
The gameplay is thriving, but the collectability is a little dicey.
Dead. So and
because I think what it does, I mean, the most damning. So the game has grown and it hasn't. Maybe like valuations still have suffered, and I think that's because you lose confidence in the creator, like the decisions being made as a business. Like it's very much like marketed as a player-centric game though. So maybe people are like, I misunderstood. Some people are speculating on Unlimited, and like they were like, maybe this is like Magic the Gathering Unlimited, because in Magic you had like alpha and beta sold out instantly. There's like overwhelming demand, just like we're seeing in Sorcery.
It was crazy.
And then Unlimited came out. And it was like called Unlimited because it was supposed to be unlimited. Like they were going to print the shit out of that to reach the player base. That was a big go to market. But then they decided not to. So that sold out. That became actually pretty rare over time.
It was very simple. They couldn't, because there were too many cards in Unlimited still that wrecked the game, and that's why they made the revised edition. Literally revised certain cards, removed certain cards to make the game playable. But indeed, that was the idea. Yeah, very true.
So history could repeat, because like I fully believe like Sorcery is going to do a revised set. I think they're going to do. The alpha, the beta, we know that. Then they'll do Arthurian Legends as the first expansion, kind of like what Arabian Nights I think was the first expansion for Magic.
Exactly.
And then so it's like a thematic set, the first thematic set. So again,
I'm looking forward to that.
Very much like the Magic Footprints. And then you get revised, and then like by then we'll figure out if there's a lot of broken stuff between alpha beta is essentially the same thing, right? Between that set and Arthurian Legends, or even within the 400 set alpha beta, you can't catch everything, right? So the community will flesh out what's broken about it. The revised will fix it, and it'll be different enough that'll be the big broad market player push, I think.
True.
So that'll be interesting to see. But
I think they would go directly to revised without an unlimited version. I don't know
if they'll do unlimited. I don't know. They haven't said anything. Only that they're thinking about a revised.
We will have the beta first, and then we'll see. But it's
there's rumors of another expansion set, like an Arthurian Legends, and then another thematic set. But I don't know about unlimited versus. I don't know. It's interesting. Like Flesh and Blood did this first edition versus unlimited. I don't know. Because didn't in Magic 2 you had after revised, didn't you have 4th edition, 5th edition, 6th edition? So they always had that core set. And how does do you know how Flesh and Blood deals with that? Like, is WTR and Arcane still fundamental to the game, or do those cards become less relevant over time?
I believe they, which pissed me off as well, they did a lot of reprints of essential cards pretty much right away, with the argument of supporting the player. So there were like some cards finally getting value, and then in the end, those cards that got value, they all got reprinted in that what was it, history set or something? Right. The white border set. And that didn't really help neither. And that came right after the Monarch and Tales of Aria disaster. And then, So I think they're keeping the cards in the loop that are important. And they don't, as far as I know, the last time I played, and I didn't play it like officially, I just played it with friends, and we enjoyed it as something different. I try a lot of stuff. It doesn't have to be the same game all the time, right? Last time I played it, there were no restrictions when it comes to sets, so you could use all the cards still. I don't know if that changed, but that's how they deal with it. They just reprint the cards.
I think that's a tricky thing for a game designer to navigate. I don't know what the right answer is, because like how do you I don't know, Magic kept reprinting revised essentially with 4th, 5th, 6th edition, right?
Yeah, but they took out cards and added new cards, and of course, Magic the Gathering has like or had, and they still have like a certain amount of sets that are called standard, legal, and that are the sets that are currently played. Which, of course, for Magic the Gathering is a totally different story because they got so many sets out over the last 30 years. But maybe the last 2 years are one format, and then you are able to play that. But the 4th edition, 5th edition, there were a lot of cards that were taken out, a lot of strong cards that were taken out. And some came back in like the core set 10, core set 11 or whatever, but they rotate a lot. And then, due to that, you can structure the formats a bit.
Yeah, so I don't know if there's like a good example and a good roadmap that a newer game has carved out on like what the best strategy is to preserve value in the early sets while also making the game viable from a gameplay perspective. Like, do you need those old staple core cards? Is it smart to preserve those? And if you don't, and you just make these newer sets like self-sufficient for gameplay, does it render all the old ones obsolete and no one gives a shit about those and they have no value? Like, Magic is that history in Magic is too old to be the roadmap, I think.
It is too old, but they found a good way. But you have to be very aware of the power creep, because if you just print stronger cards that might replace the others so they are not used anymore, then that ramps up, of course, and at a certain point you can't play anymore. So what Magic did was like print some stronger cards, then print a weak set, and then another weak set, and then maybe a little stronger set. So that's why some sets are worth more than others. And all sets are created equal, but some sets are more equal than others, right?
Yeah. And then there is like, you always have like game formats, right? There's old school MTG, like maybe in Sorcery, even if they went, if like Arthurian Legends, I don't think it will be, but let's say it's like a standalone set that has these like very tightly thematic things where you play with these knights and there's like armor or weapons or helms, like all this stuff, like, you know, like Flesh and Blood went in that direction, right? Like you have boots, you have weapons, you have helmets, you have this stuff, right, that makes things synergistic.
You got the pieces of equipment, exactly, and that's pretty cool. Actually, that's what I liked about the game. It is a bit different, and it has a different approach. There are things I like about the game a lot. There are things I don't like about the game, because in Flesh and Blood, once you're behind and you have to use your cards you have on your hand to block in your opponent's turn, and you are only allowed to draw at the end of your own turn. So if you use 2 cards to block and you're behind because you have to block, then you have nothing to play in your turn, draw at the end of your turn, and then you use the cards to block again. But this equipment stuff is awesome. If they would do that in Arthurian Legends, and like give me like a Holy Grail or whatever, that would be awesome. Of course,
there's a Holy Grail card. Did you know that?
Yes. Awesome. I wanted
it was revealed a while ago. Tony Sublow did the artwork. Oh, it's an amazing artwork, man. You gotta. It's on my website. You can check it out, or I could send it to you later. But cool. Because like once they announced Arthurian Legends, we were like, this isn't, because I almost bought the painting. That's how I was really into it when I saw it. It was a beautiful painting. That as soon as Arthurian Legends was announced, I knew it would not be an alpha. I was like, that just makes perfect sense for Arthurian Legends, right? There's like several cards like that fit that theme.
Yeah, you have to have Excalibur. You have to have
knights of some kind.
Grail,
there's like Brian Smith did a Knights artwork, and so did Drew Tucker. That were not an alpha, so those will be out there, I assume.
If I don't get a Lancelot, I'm gonna riot.
Well, I think they'll have, so like Elvira did the Sir Tristan, I think is the one I revealed. Like I did an interview with her, and Eric let us reveal one of her paintings, and he hinted that there's other knights, you know. So there's got like, and it just makes sense. Like when you have the royal family, or like the Arthurians, what do they call them? Like his Knights of the Round Table. Yeah, you got to have it, right? It's the thing is like, what will they be? Will they be avatars, or will they be curio chase cards? Like how fundamental to the set will they be? I can't wait to see.
Yeah, I personally would like to have them as avatars, so I could play as a certain knight. And
that would be awesome.
And of course you got Merlin as well, which could replace a mage or whatever. That would be nice. But yeah, Lancelot and Gawain and Arthur himself and all those guys, that would be awesome. Have you seen the movie with Clive Owen, which I think
I
is a
did,
very
yeah.
good take? Yeah, I love that one.
I like it too. Yeah, a lot of people are shitting on that one and be like, "Oh,
I
that
know.
sucked." You know, I was like, "Really? I like watched it twice at least. I think
It's so awesome.
it was fun." Yeah,
Yeah, it was good
I'm
fun.
sure it was like highly dramatized. But the thing is,
Of
with
course.
Arthurian lore, there's like all different versions of it,
Yeah.
and like some people believed it to be true, and I think that was like largely debunked. But yeah, I mean, like there's different versions, so it's just a story, right? So who cares? You know, it's going to be redone by Hollywood, and that's what makes Hollywood cool and fun.
Exactly.
They're
I
movies.
think
They're
so
supposed
as
to be
well.
entertaining.
Yeah, no, and I hope the same for a sorcery set. Just make it entertaining, make it fun, and give your own twist. Yeah, to certain kind of character, or to some characters or whatever, which would
That'll
be
be
pretty
interesting. Yeah. Will
Yeah.
they try to like replicate the lore to some extent, like the real stories and tales that are out there, or will they have like different ideas of game mechanics that take you in a different direction? Because like when you play sorcery, what the players talk about is how it feels like an experience, and it tells a story, right? Like if they can
what is the
preserve that
card
in
you
Arthurian
always
Legends.
mention that you throw like a hook and draw the character
Oh, grapple
to
shot,
grapple shot?
or not,
it is.
or Punch Butcher is the one that drags you through the realm. But I
Okay.
guess grapple shot is like
Grapple shot.
another one that's
Yeah.
really popular right now, or powerful
I
as
think
well.
I think that thematically is awesome, and I would like to see that in the next set as well. What is this subset, by the way, with the dragons? I haven't really heard a lot about that.
Well, I think what happened was like Ed Bear Jr. as the artist, he came into the Discord and he started talking about it, as I recall, and then like I think it kind of, I don't know if that was like by accident, because then like Eric announced it, and it's because it seems a little premature to announce it because we don't know when it's coming. We assume sometime next year. But like it was announced like many months ago. But the only thing Eric said, I think he said it was like a 10-card mini set. He wouldn't say anything about like what its purpose is, like if it was intended to shake up the meta, or like can you just like buy those 10 cards and that's it, or is it, I don't know, it's only 10 cards, so like how would you even navigate something like that? It's
New
all
secret lair
speculative.
alert.
Yeah, it could be like, is it an art thing, or is it like a meta shake up to try to get you like to spark interest and keep it viable with 1-year release intervals? How do you feel about the 1-year release intervals?
I love it. I collect enough stuff, and I can't keep up with it as it is. And I dialed down on everything because I can't.
Yeah.
Got a nice setup, and that's it. But for me personally, as a collector, with a product like this, which I really, really like, and I love the art, I love the vibes. If they would release something like every 3 months, I would go crazy, and I probably couldn't follow it. In the chat, somebody says like a bitter cardboard. Didn't Tony mention white, black, red knight?
Yeah, I was just responding to him. He came on my channel one time.
I see.
And
I just got the message
he leaked a couple.
later.
Yeah, it's delayed.
Yeah.
I think he leaked a couple side things. He said he was working on some knights for the set. So that's interesting too. Like if Elvira was commissioned to do some, and then also Tony, what are they gonna do? Like, are some of them Avatar type things, or are others? Like when he let Elvira, like I asked him if I could share this. What he told me about Elvira's when she did the painting reveal. Because I asked him like, because they were very ornate. She did this very like intricate gilded border on those. So you have this like wild gilded border, like very much like these, like Francesca Barral did a gilded border on this, on the spell. Well, the regular cards too. I think I had some over here. The final version also has that, a little toned down, but it has that very intricate border. So Elvira painted those like that on these knights, and then they have like a focal like illustration point with like the prominent knight and then some other characters in there, and the one that was revealed. But the way Eric described it to me, he said like, let her choose one of her knights. So then I clung to like his wording very closely. And I was like, what do you mean one of? Like there's multiple knights.
Yeah.
And I started to see what I could get out of him, and he was like, yeah, there is several, and I was like, is it? And then I saw like the image because I went and talked to Elvira, and she picked out one that she wanted to share, and I was like, dude, these are like insanely great artworks. Like, is this like a special card in the set of some kind, like an Avatar or a Chase? Or did I say a Chase? he said it's like a, you know, he talks kind of funny sometimes, his wording. He's like, it'll be a bit of a chase in the set. So he
Okay.
called it I think that's the word he used, a chase. So it is like a special card of some kind.
Yeah.
It's just not clear if it's an avatar, like a special art variant of an avatar, or if it's like a curio maybe. Like, what does special chase mean? I don't know. Is it a unique rarity? But one way or another, it looks incredible, and it's going to be a special set of knights in the set.
Oh no, I'm very
Yeah.
curious, and I like what Sola God says in the chat. We want a Greek set or a Norse set. I would
Yeah.
be all in with like a Nordic set. I love the
Oh, yeah.
Nordic mythology. I think it's awesome. I
Mhm.
liked the Magic the Gathering set that went into that direction as well. I think that was one of the last sets a few years ago, Call Time, that they did pretty well. But
Oh.
Nordic set would be a good follow up, or Greek mythology set, I think. But we already got the Medusa, so
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of sad, like what's become of Magic. Like when I played as a kid, and then when I came back into TCGs a few years ago, it was a funny thing. Like I had no interest in getting back into MTG because I know they had
no.
that breakneck release cycle, and
Yeah.
plus, like it's just been 30 years. You know, like I wanted to get in on something early stage. Like when I was playing as a kid, I was like literally elementary school, middle school type age, so I didn't have the money to go hard on those early sets. Like I had almost like a full set of Revised and the Dark and some of
But
these,
that's
but nothing
awesome.
too
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed it like that, and I wanted to relive that experience, like being early and getting in on these early sets. So I gravitated to Sorcery, but like it's a shame like what it's become, because the artwork in Magic is like really really incredible. Like I know some of it's digital, but some is still traditional, and
Yeah.
it's like it's amazing artwork. But it's
You,
like it's so commoditized that it
yeah.
cheapens it. You know, it doesn't feel
Definitely.
special anymore.
We talked a lot about that recently. I talked about that with a couple of people. I think that's crazy, and that's what drew me into Sorcery the most. I think is that nostalgic feeling I get when I think about my early Magic the Gathering days. I think that was one of the big factors I started to be interested in the game as well. When I looked at it after I saw Rudy's push for it. Magic the Gathering still is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to play. The sets are good. There are just too
Yeah.
many of them. It's horrible.
Mm.
Some of the artwork is good. Even some of the secret layers people hate. The artwork is done very well. I had a look at it the other day.
Yeah,
There's some
definitely.
cool stuff. And if I look at a set now, everything looks more or less the same. I don't really have that feeling like if I look at a certain card and I know exactly what it is, and I know exactly roughly what it does already, and
Did you think that was a problem in Flesh and Blood? I thought there
I
was a lot of samey type like art
yeah,
vibes
in
in
the
that
beginning I
too.
really loved it because they were
Yeah,
like raw and bloody, and I liked that, but at a certain point I couldn't tell the difference. When I played it, especially with my brother, and we used a couple of pre-constructed decks, we had to read everything all over again all the time, because we couldn't really figure out which card was which, because everything looked the same. And I have that with new Magic the Gathering sets often as well, and I don't have that with Sorcery, and I don't have that with old Magic the Gathering sets. But I
yep,
think that's a very sad development when it comes to Magic the Gathering. The game is still good. The sets are still good. Some of the cards really still look awesome. I think there's some awesome art in there. I don't really like the digital card, and they try to
yeah,
put too much on there somehow. Somehow, just like I had to look at the Druid today. It was a Druid alone on the road by Jeff Mangus, the artist proof I got from Antiquities.
oh,
And then there's
yeah,
so much happening in that little picture, but still it stands out as what it is, like the Druid and holding a box or whatever, or the chalice. It's just the hand and the chalice and the window in the
yeah,
background with some light in it. Very simplistic, awesome, and
yeah,
very
hmm,
recognizable. And I miss that a lot with Magic the Gathering. A lot.
yep, yeah. I think that's really well done. Like in Sorcery, you
Yeah.
know, there each card. Well, I'm showing a few here. You
Yeah.
can see there's a central prominent figure in every card.
Yeah,
These are all Vincent
exactly.
Pompetti ones too, so it's gonna feel like similar stylistically, but it's
Yeah,
not like so
are these
much
the
detail that it's. Go
are
ahead.
these the
Yeah.
artist proofs? No, no, I didn't want to
Yeah,
interrupt you. I just was
actually.
curious.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
they're all
yeah, yeah.
artist
I thought so.
proofs.
I saw them in your post, and I think they looked awesome.
Yeah,
I like the sea serpent one is really awesome,
yeah, they're really
and
cool.
the pirate ships looked really cool too.
He's got a
Yeah,
cool style. Even I like how he's doing the artist proofs too, because he's also doing a prominent figure, and he's
yeah,
not like going nuts with like. You don't need like a ton of elements completely buried in there. You
No,
know, you just need it, and that's how a card should be. Like I actually saw an interview that was done with it's one of the Magic conventions where they were talking to one of the art directors from WotC or whatever, and the guy was actually saying the right things. He was saying like when you do a game piece, you need to have a central figure that when you look at it, you kind of understand what the card's supposed to do, and your eye gravitates towards like that central element. But I don't know that it's executed as well. You know, like you're saying, it's kind of a mixed bag. Some of them do, some of them don't, and it's not really on the artist. I mean, it's on the guidance you give them, and then ultimately how you shape the game mechanic to that illustration. There's some back and forth there that needs to happen.
I think that's a big thing you mentioned there, the guidance you give them. And I know back in the day, I talked to a couple of artists, not as much as you do, of course, but they told me back in the day for Magic the Gathering, in the early days, they got the name of the card, and that's it. And then they had to use their own imagination to come up with something, and often it was wonderful. And there were even some examples from Anson Maddox where he misinterpreted the name, and that's why like a certain card looks totally different than what it's supposed to, or what it's supposed to do, and what it's supposed to look like. But I think that's awesome. And nowadays, I think the Magic the Gathering artists get documents of like 6-7 pages with guidelines for their artwork, and I think that's just making everything very similar, because those guidelines are so strict that everybody has to use the same guidelines. Even if it's creative people, they will obviously come out within certain boundaries with the artwork they create eventually, and that will logically look similar to each other. Because the boundaries are so small, or so tight. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I stumbled upon those stories too, because I interviewed a lot of the Alpha Magic artists, and in the early days, they were just given like a piece of paper, like a list of names of cards, and
which one do you want?
You want to do?
Yeah, exactly. That's how it went.
Yeah, Anson talked about that a lot. You're right, because he did a lot of them for the Alpha set, like a large percentage.
He did 30 cards, which I think is like 10% of the Alpha set.
Yeah,
yes,
right.
He did, I think, exactly 30, and the Alpha set is 302 cards, because they missed like a Volcanic Island, which would be 302 cards, which would be 303 with the Volcanic Island, but that's only in the beta. I could be wrong by 1 or 2 or 3, but it's 10% he did. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, and then like so when I used to be a little bit into Flesh and Blood too, because it predated Sorcery. When I started getting back into TCGs, I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. This guy James White, I was impressed with his background, because he was like he had a lot of like Magic influence like Eric does, but he also worked in a lot of aspects of the different supply chain of logistics of how to across TCGs, you know. So like, oh, this guy's pretty impressive. He'll probably deliver. So like anyway, I was dabbled in artist proofs for a little bit in Flesh and Blood, and I remember reaching out to one of the artists, and he was like, a lot of them it was all digital. I don't know if they've done some traditional since then, but when Flesh and Blood came out, it was 100% digital. Yeah. And some of these artists, it's interesting, they're like younger artists, and they came up on doing digital, and they don't, like, some of them were not comfortable or confident enough in being able to do a sketch or a painting on the back of an artist.
They can't.
So they just didn't want to do it.
No, but often they can't even. I mean, people like artists that came up digitally or learned how to draw digitally, they often can draw it. But I see it in the video games industry. We got a lot of artists for our games, of course. And we have them in the same department, so I often look over their shoulder and so on. And they are often very creative people and can draw, but if you ask them to draw something by hand, like a painting or whatever, they are not comfortable with it anymore, and they can create the most wonderful stuff digitally, but by hand, it's a totally different thing. So totally agree.
Yeah, so like the reason I bring that up, I'm not trying to criticize those artists or anything, or say like digital is a whole like tradecraft unto itself. It's very complicated. You still got to be super creative and skilled to do it. But like what I was getting at is I was able to tease out some information about the commissioning process of Flesh and Blood from those conversations. Because one of the artists, I didn't like, I want artist proofs because I love paintings and drawings and things, right? I love the art itself. That's what's cool about them. So I asked this one artist, can you do a sketch for me, like on the back of some of these artist proofs? And he didn't want to do it. He's like, I don't really do any kind of traditional. I'm strictly strictly digital. And I was like, okay, well, how about this? Can you go back and like reflect back on the guidance you got from Legend Story Studios on that commission and write like a reference from that. So he wrote like he went back and he's like I got to go look at my notes. They gave me a briefing.
Wow.
Right. So they gave him like a whole briefing on what the art concept should be. And I think he had, I don't know if it was like pages worth, but he had like a pretty thorough description of what the art was supposed to be.
Okay.
And he wrote it like verbatim. He picked out like a few sentences of what it, which is really cool because it described what the card was.
Yeah.
But it kind of steers you down that path you were talking about Magic, where it is very specific. And they did it for a reason because Flesh and Blood has a cohesive lore for every set, right?
Yeah.
Which is cool in its own way. But the compromise is you don't get the diversity of artistic styles like you would see in Sorcery, where you get the looser guidance, you allow the artists to be true to themselves, come up with their own concept. Like as long as it's loosely related to what you want that card to do, they have the creative freedom to do it, and that's the beauty of Sorcery. It's like collecting a bunch of paintings in these cards. It's so different, you know, and it's cool because all the artists are different.
I totally agree. But don't you think it's crazy that you asked an artist for a sketch on an artist proof and he couldn't provide it?
Yeah. It was wild. And some others I got were like pretty rough too. I don't want to say what the card was, but I don't know how to, I'm not artist myself, but I was like, I looked at the thing. I was like, I think I could draw better than that. So I actually tried to, and I did like a pretty decent sketch of one of the Flesh and Blood cards and showed it to a few people. I was like, look at this one. Now look at that one.
Yeah. No, I have to ask my daughter. She probably could do a better job then. Yeah.
It was a crude drawing with like a marker or something too. It was very strange.
Don't forget, we do tests with that in the video games industry as well already with AI created art, and there are programs, and I think there's somebody mentioning it in the chat as well, but that's totally true. Our artists already make use of those programs to create artwork because it's quicker, so we don't replace them, but eventually, and it's quicker, the output is higher, video games industry is very fast, the quality itself has to be good, of course, but it doesn't have to be high end like a painting, because everything is so quick, and the whole industry is fast paced. But another 10-15 years, all these artists might be in trouble because AI can do it better than they can. I did an experiment while I was on holiday. I was a bit bored. I downloaded an AI program that allows me to have like 4 mock-ups every day or whatever, and I created some sorcery cards because there was this discussion I started that I think we as content creators, and maybe not us small ones but maybe the bigger ones, should get promos. I think we do more for marketing than anybody else out there, and I think we reach more people than every store. So why not give content creators promos to distribute to their viewers in streams, in whatever giveaways, and you see they give them away or not. So next time, that's what we do in video games all the time. We hand out game codes, we hand out merchandise that they talk about the game. That's how it works. I mean, that's fair enough. Why don't they do that? And there was like, we don't even have time to make such a promo. So I was like making a couple of sorcery cards. I still have them. I have a trio of I call it, I have to look it up what I called it, but it's based on the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I think I called it the mage, the warrior. Oh yeah, I remember. I called it the mage, the warrior, and the jester. And I made a card with a similar background for a mage, for a warrior, and the jester. You need to go, buddy? So I keep talking. That's okay. I'm going to entertain everybody. That's cool.
Yeah, I got a few more minutes and we'll wrap up. Because one thing I want to ask you on that line of thinking. So do you think AI is a threat for these artists that only know how to work digitally, but not as much for traditional artists?
They say in our department, they say it themselves. But at a certain point, I think you need them still, but less of them. Because there still needs to be somebody that determines the art direction and that determines the house style and that sticks within the brand, which is very important for it may be board games, trading card games, video games, movies, whatever. So there still needs to be people there. But we got an art department currently of about 15 people or whatever for just one game. At a certain point, that will definitely be less, I think. Yes, that's a threat. Absolutely. Yeah.
But the artists, I mean, like, so there are certain My question is more specifically traditional, like artists that actually paint and draw versus like purely all they know how to do is digital. I would think the risk is more for the digital artists because AI can replicate that to some
That's
extent.
what I meant. That's what I
But
meant. Not the
yeah,
the traditional
I mean, the
artists.
traditional, yeah. As
Yeah.
long as there's like projects that want to use traditional artists,
Yeah.
that can't be replicated as much, right?
Nope.
I mean, it just looks and feels different when you. I don't have any. I got to get a bunch of paintings framed, but when you look at like a traditional painting, it feels much different than a print or like anything that was created digitally. Sometimes you can't tell. Digital is very impressive sometimes, but when it's done like on a canvas or with certain materials, like an oil painting,
Exactly.
or even acrylic, sometimes it has a different look and feel. It feels very authentic and just something special about it. You know, it hits different.
Totally agree. Oil acrylic is normally what I go for on my artist proofs as well. I love it, and I think it's very distinctive, and I totally agree. So I think the traditional artists will always. You see how busy they are. It's almost impossible to get a commission for a small piece of an artist proof. And look at everything. I mean, it's the handcraft comes back. There are not a lot of people that know how to build a house anymore. There are not, because the jobs shifted, and these people are actually, you don't know what my plumber asked for just fixing a pipe recently. I almost fell out of the chair. It was a lot of money. I was like, oh Jesus, okay, those guys now can ask for a lot of money. But that's the same, of course, for artists. It's everything that's done by hand, everything that is a craft somebody learned, I appreciate. And digital, I appreciate as well, because it's a craft you have to learn too.
True.
But I think there will be just purely art focused. It will be difficult at a certain point, but that's a personal opinion. I hope not for them, because they are very passionate and they are the most lovely people we have in the department. They are all very creative and very nice and very humble and just enjoying and loving what they do. So it would be a shame if they are becoming really totally obsolete. So I hope not.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just got to rebrand yourself a little bit or reapply yourself to something that's a little different than you've done in the past, and that's fine too. It's like a growth thing. So they'll probably find their way and find a purpose one way or the other.
Definitely, I think so as well. Yeah.
When you have the creative mind, I mean, you find ways to apply that. I feel, you know, that the hardest part is like having just the intrinsic creativity to think different. Like when I see you know, Ed Beard Jr. has his Patreon where he's actually painting the 10 cards for the mini set for his patrons.
Yeah.
Like anyone could sign up and you could see like these are going to be the sorcery paintings, you know.
Oh, wow.
So you get to see the artwork in advance. And it's it's all like considered NDA internal. So I've been a part of that for a while and watched him create these. And when he paints, like it's just mind blowing what he does and like where he puts the paint and the way he does like lighting or different like details, because he does extremely detailed work. Just one time I asked him, I was like, where's the reference image that you're using? And I was serious. I was like, because I was like, how do you know exactly what to do? Yeah. It's like a musician playing the guitar or the piano or something like that. It just comes out like perfectly. If they're improvising, it's just like unbelievable. I was like, how do you know exactly what to do? And it's just the years and years of decades of experience and imagine he has the imagination for it, you know? They're wired different.
I still don't get how people do that. I watched a leather craft guy on Twitch for a while who made like a knife, what's it called? Sheath? And he made them for different knives or whatever. And he was just sitting there and he put a camera on it and he just was sitting at his normal workplace. He didn't even talk or whatever. It was amazing because the craftsmanship was so awesome. But artists, my grandfather was a painter, and he was starting as a painter in churches for the murals and the ceilings. But then at a later point in his life, he didn't want to like climb ladders anymore and whatever. So he just painted. And I got one of his paintings from my parents, and I was... He didn't have the best relationship with him somehow, because I don't know, we weren't there a lot, and my dad and he were not very close. But there was that one time they had to take care of me, and I think it was about 10, and he was painting in his painting room. So I went there and had a look, asked if I could have a look. He was like, okay, and I sat there for like 2 hours. And I was sitting there, and I was pretty amazed because he was painting, like, I think it was one of the paintings that's at my parents' house now, which is sunflowers, like a take on Van Gogh. And that's one I asked my parents I want, definitely, because I'm the one who's living in the Netherlands. I get the Van Gogh. But after that point, he actually like started to respect me because I respected his work, and I was sitting there for 2 hours watching it. But the craftsmanship of, I think he was in his 60s, and he painted his whole life, and big stuff as well. So little canvas was easy for him. Crazy. It's like you said, exactly. Amazing. They knew exactly what to do. There was no photo, anything anywhere. He just painted from the top of his head. It was crazy. I loved it. Yeah, really nice.
That's cool, man. It's a great story.
I haven't told that one in quite a while. That's cool. Really I thought so already.
It's dinner time here. I know it's like really late in the Netherlands, so it's cool to connect across the world with all these people through sorcery, right? It's unbelievable.
Definitely. No, I love that. I think it's amazing how love for a passion for the same thing can connect. It's okay still here. It's 2300, so I still got an hour until midnight, so that's
not too bad. Yeah.
So I normally start editing now and so on because I have a long work day normally, not on Saturday, obviously. I did my stuff already today. But it was great to be on. It was a lot of fun. I appreciate it, man. And
I appreciate you popping in. Hopefully, I don't know, I got a warning when I launched the stream that there might be an issue with the recording. I didn't know StreamYard runs out of memory or something. I got to look into that, but hopefully this will be recorded and you can reference back. It's always fun to watch back and see. The comments have been quiet too. I think people have just been listening and taking it in. But
that's actually what Sophie said. Like, we're enjoying the talk. So
it's fun. It's always, I love doing lives. I love, it's like improv, talking with people, conversational about whatever. So anytime, man, my channel or yours, you're always welcome. So it's really fun.
Same here. So you're always welcome. For me, life is a bit difficult because it's it's very late. I mean, on a Saturday it's okay, but if it's very late during the week, it's not very well isolated here. So I try to record and edit with a reasonable noise level. But otherwise my wife gets crazy, the kids get crazy. But in general, I love doing live. I just don't get around to do it that often. But I like these corporations. I like talking to other content creators, and I like talking especially to the ones that are very, very passionate like you about a certain product, in this case sorcery. And I love all the energy and time you put into it, and giving the artists a voice. I love that as well. I think that's not happening enough. There are so many talented people out there, so it's a cool place together at the Collector Arthouse, I guess.
Thanks a lot, man. You're putting out good stuff too. It's really cool. You went from Magic and now you're getting pretty interested in sorcery. So I love to see it. Hopefully it keeps your interest through beta and beyond. And if you play, do you play the game too, or are you more of a collector?
I want to play, and I have installed it on Steam, Tabletop Simulator, but I didn't get around to it yet, and I decided not to play with my alpha. So I haven't really played yet, but I normally, as an old TCG guy, I pick up things pretty quickly. So once I got the beta, I will send the box to my brother, and normally what we do around Christmas is like a little brothers war, like a Christmas battle. And this time I have to provide the product, and normally the loser has to provide a product. We got a little trophy, wandering trophy, so every year it gets a different plague. And I will send him a box, and I will open a box, and I will open mine on camera, and then I give him the objective to build a deck, and I probably send him a pack of precons as well, and to learn the game, and then we will do the Christmas battle with sorcery. So
as you woke up from her nap, that's the hook. But that's awesome, man. We'll have to have a different kind of conversation after we both play the game. I think it'll go in a different direction and be a lot of fun.
Definitely, I think so as well.
All right, buddy. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it on short notice. A lot of fun, man.
Thanks a lot for having me.
Thanks everybody in the chat. It's a good time.
Yeah, stay frosty.
All right, take care. I'll see you.
You too. Bye-bye. Thanks.
See everybody.